writing amazing life stories, Dave enjoys spending time with family and friends, particularly his grandfather. A few of his many interests include playing golf and tennis, cooking, entertaining, reading, traveling, woodworking, and volunteering in the community. Give it up for Dave Harris.
Well, thank you, Racine. And good evening, Cleveland. Thank you all for coming out and sticking around for this. I want to say that in addition to the West Side Market, the city of Shaker Heights is also celebrating its 100th birthday this year, so happy birthday, Shaker. This is the most current issue of Shaker Life, which features the story of what almost changed Cleveland and Northeast Ohio forever back in the 1960s. So the U.S. government back then wanted to see a network of highways across the country to allow for easier deployment of ground infantry should we be under attack during the Cold War. Then County Engineer Albert Porter especially wanted to extend 490 at East 55th Street to create the 290 bypass, which would connect 271 to Beechwood, and that would be called the Clark Freeway. This would obviously destroy the natural wonder that Porter didn't seem so concerned about, such as the Doan Brook, which goes into Lake Erie, and the Cloverleaf intersection would have gone right through the Shaker Lakes, which obviously would have devastated that community. In 1964, members of the Shaker Historical Society, such as Elizabeth Nord, the first curator of the museum, helped strategize in the protest. Approximately 6,000 letters were mailed to key stakeholders, which spirited the community members to fight against this freeway. Largely, the organizers were women whose husbands worked downtown, and they became known as the women and the little ladies in the white tennis shoes. And they aided in a petition to then Governor Rhodes with over 16,000 signatures. The women were primarily concerned about the future and well-being of their children in the community, so PTA groups and school administrators approved, pretty easy back then, the students to partake in the effort, and some went door to door, while others planted trees like the picture we see here. So what is legacy? Isn't it about leaving something for the next generation, something to remind one another what and who a person or place means? The residents in Shaker, as well as Cleveland Heights and University Heights, really wanted to preserve their beautiful parklands, and so they did. They really worked to establish the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes, which was established as an effective tactic in the fight, one that organizers felt that would apply with the natural environmental landmark and educational nature center, which would help stop the efforts of this federally disastrous plan. So what's really cool here is that the collective action efforts took more than 5 years. People didn't stop believing in their community, and they really overturned what would become the Clark Freeway, which included one of the founders of the Nature Center testifying in front of Congress, and all those community meetings, and some of you might have been to one of those. Many residents of the Heights are indebted to these freeway fighters for essentially saving the communities. So now more than ever, our children are in need of values to lead in a world where we need more positive change. The Intergenerational School, which is a public charter school with international recognition, located only a few blocks from Shaker Square, wanted to educate their students about environmental sustainability within a series of hands-on activities. In March of 2011, the school was able to bring Bernice Davidson, founder of Global Rivers Art, which focuses on paintings of polluted rivers and watersheds, for a one-week residency and working with the art classes at the Intergenerational School. Not only were the 12 and 13-year-old students able to express their feelings of environmental concerns through painting, but they were able to deeply reflect about what it was like to learn about what happened in the 1960s with that freeway fight through an amazing community collaborative project. So this is where I get to come into play here. Peter and Kathy Whitehouse, and they're the founders of the Intergenerational School, called on me because of what I've done in East Cleveland as well as the Fairfax neighborhood around the Cleveland Clinic with bringing families together with younger people to really tell their life stories and then put these in book form. And so Peter Whitehouse, who's like a revered neurologist, he calls me the intergenerational narratologist, which I think is pretty cool. So we directed this project And many of you guys might recognize this guy in this picture. It's Norm Krumholz, professor at Levin College of Urban Affairs and then city planner under Mayor Carl Stokes. And he was one of the interviewees that made this book possible. So the students were somewhat intimidated by that, but really they got past it because Norm is such a warm and fuzzy guy. Anyway, the blue heron species. So this is what would have been destroyed if that highway would have gone through. And we really formulated a narrative for the book around what these species were. And I do have the book. It's actually right here. So this is like a memory book. This is the most amazing yearbook that the Intergenerational School will have. And it's really the memory book of Shaker and of what it was like to fight a freeway. So if you haven't been to the Shaker Lakes, I highly encourage you to do so. Take your kids up there for a day of fishing and serenity. Maybe you can do a romantic picnic with someone special at Horseshoe Lake. How can you not enjoy that? So the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes has welcomed over 250,000 students since its inception in 1966. I think that deserves a round of applause. We're so fortunate to have the Doan Brook here in Cleveland. And it's a revealed brook, meaning it's above ground. Most of the time they're in culverts and below ground. Anyway, so we celebrated this book, which you see the women here have, at the Nature Center in October of 2011. And like I said, it is available and proceeds do go to support the Intergenerational School. And I would be simply remiss if I didn't mention some of the other partners, like the City of Shaker Heights. They were instrumental in this, as was Judson at University Circle, the Doan Brook Watershed Partnership, and this issue can be read, pick it up on newsstands, Shaker Life. Everybody should read about what happened back in the 60s through the Clark Freeway fight. So I really cannot thank our community partners enough because really that's what makes action happen in Cleveland. So again, thank you. And it's been a journey to do this project over the past couple years here in Cleveland as well as other parts of Northeast Ohio. And really, I love listening to stories. So if you guys have any ideas of other future projects where we could bring young people and older people together, I think we could really do a lot of good. So thanks again.
Keep it going for Dave Harris. Come on, give it up. I think if we knew a little bit more about where we came from, we might have cities looking a little bit different than they do right now. All right. Can you believe we've been through 13 presentations?